Hi everyone and welcome to Care. So today's video is going to focus around managing anxiety. So anxiety presents itself in two different ways. It can present in psychological form, which is those worrying thoughts, not being able to switch off. And it also presents itself with physical symptoms. So today's video is going to focus around managing the physical symptoms, and the reason that I've chosen to focus on this first is because actually it's the quickest in the moment way of managing your anxiety. So hopefully there'll be some really useful tips for you to use moving forward from today. So everybody would have experienced some level of anxiety in their life, so it's likely that you can relate to some, if not all, of the symptoms that we've just listed. And before I get started on any techniques, I just wanted to highlight that anxiety is actually a really normal emotion to experience. It can actually be a really positive emotion for us to experience, and it is actually a fear response. So it would have been a survival technique. So a lot of those physical symptoms that we experience are as a result of our body kicking into that fight or flight mode that we would have experienced when we was in danger. So obviously in current times it's very rare that we face life or death situations, but we do still experience fear and we're still scared of things, and that's where the anxiety comes into play. So one of the main techniques that I'm going to be introducing today is breathing exercises, and they come in lots of different forms. And the reason that breathing exercises work so well with anxiety is because the way we feel physically and the way we feel psychologically are very closely linked. So if you think about when your muscles and your body is really tense, it can actually make us feel quite psychologically tense as well and really quite stressed. And the same works vice versa. So if we can relax our body and make our body feel relaxed, then our mind will feel much more relaxed as well. So the great thing about breathing exercises is that you can do them absolutely anywhere. So you could be in a really crowded, really busy place feeling really anxious, and you can engage in the breathing exercise without anybody even knowing that you're doing it, and you don't need any resources to do it. So the breathing exercises that I'm going to introduce today, as an example, I am going to be using a set amount of seconds for that breath, but it's really important that you work with what's comfortable for you. So if you can't quite hold the breath for the seconds that I'm using, just reduce it down to whatever feels comfortable for you. You can do them seated, lying down, standing up, whatever the situation allows, and whatever feels comfortable for you. Controlled breathing is the easiest to remember and to use in these situations. So the clue's in the title. It's about controlling your breathing, and it's about just taking really deep and really slow breaths. So really slowing your breathing down, and what this will do is slow your heart rate down, which will then reduce some of the other physical symptoms that you're experiencing. Equal breathing requires a little bit more thinking. So what equal breathing means is that your breath in and your breath out last for the exact amount of time. So whereas controlled breathing is just trying to slow that breathing down and get a bit more control over it, equal breathing is about making the breath cycle exactly the same each time. So for example, if you breathe in for 4 seconds, it's making sure that you breathe out for 4 seconds as well. So squared breathing is about slowing that breath cycle down even more. So what squared breathing does is it actually introduces pauses into the breath cycle. So what squared breathing involves is breathing in for a certain amount of time, let's say 4 seconds. You would then hold it for 4 seconds, slowly breathe out for 4 seconds, and hold it again for 4 seconds before starting that cycle again. And this one will really slow your heart rate down, regulate your breathing, and just reduce a lot of those physical symptoms that you're experiencing. But it does involve a little bit more thinking than maybe the controlled breathing and the equal breathing does. So moving away from the breathing exercises a little bit, the second technique that I wanted to introduce was relaxation. So there's lots of resources that you can use for relaxation, things like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, all have playlists or different types of relaxing music which you can pair with some of the breathing exercises that we've introduced today, or you can use things like guided imagery, which is where they talk you through quite relaxing scenery, and you almost kind of go to a bit of a happy place, so it kind of takes you outside of the real world for that short time. Everybody works differently when it comes to relaxation. Some people love guided imagery, other people really struggle to get their head really in that place. So it's finding what works for you. Obviously you can use more laid back approaches, like having a long bath, sitting and reading your book. It's just about relaxing and taking some time out. And I'm going to end on my personal favourite. So this is something called progressive muscle relaxation. So how this works is that often we don't realise that we're feeling tension in muscles in our body. So progressive muscle relaxation gets you to purposely create tension in each of your muscle groups, to hold it and to experience it for around about 5 seconds, and then slowly release that tension. And what it does is it gets rid of the tension that you've created, but it also takes the tension that you were already experiencing that you might not have been aware of. So you would work from your head down to your toes, or from your toes up to your head, and you would work through each key muscle group in your body, and doing that routine of creating tension and then releasing that tension. There are lots of scripts online that you can find for this if you're struggling to think of the muscle groups to go through. But I personally find this really, really effective, and hopefully by the time you've worked through your whole body, you will feel much more relaxed at the end of it.